Our second fastest qualifier for Saturday night's 55th Annual Bank of America 500 is Jeff Gordon. And he drives the number 24 Drive to End Hunger Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff, congratulations on a very solid qualifying effort. And what are your thoughts leading into Saturday night's event?
Yeah, thank you. I'm very pleased. You know, looking back on it, certainly felt like we have a car that could have been on the pole tonight. So I'm a little bit let down that I didn't get it for this team, because I do feel like the car was fast enough to do it. Got through 1 and 2 extremely good, just like I did through the second segment. And in the second segment, I overdrove 3 and 4 and pushed the front, and I was so nervous about doing that this time. I just thought, man, if I can just get it to turn the middle and get off there really good and clean, it'll be a good lap, maybe good enough for the pole. And that just wasn't the case. I think maybe I didn't get quite through 1 and 2 quite as good as I did the run before that. So when I got down to 3, I think I was just a little bit too conservative, and I got through there really clean, and the car turned really good, and I didn't expect it to do that. So still a really good effort, and really good position to start this race on Saturday.
Questions for Jeff? If you have one, raise your hand. Any questions for Jeff Gordon? Lee? And then Tom.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Do you know what happened to your brakes today? Earlier, you said that you didn't have any brakes. Did you guys figure out what happened?
Yeah, we had some kind of brake line. I don't know if it got hit by something when we were making the adjustment prior to that run, or somehow it got rubbed on something. We just know that it was in that line, and we fixed it, and then it's about preventative measures to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I feel confident that it won't.
Let's go to Tom.
Hi, Jeff. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. You've raced in a bunch of championship formats in NASCAR. How unorthodox is this chase, where you have the 2 dominant teams have 4 cars now outside the points, and some of the teams that haven't been running well are at the top of the board, and do you think that will continue?
I mean, I think it's incredibly intense, and certainly makes for a very exciting storyline, that's for sure. I think this actually gets you more like, in a lot of ways, like other sports where, you can have a perfect record and go, lose the first game of the playoffs. I think the only thing that really, impacts this format differently than and same in the past, but I'm just saying versus other sports, is that things outside of your control as your team, you're not only other teams you're racing the chase, but other teams that aren't in the chase can impact your day. And that's tough to swallow some days. So you got to not only go out there and perform, you got to avoid those incidences the best that you possibly can. And, I still believe, that if your team is good enough, 3 races, you have 3 races to get yourself to that next round. And if you're as good as you think you are, then you'll go through to that next round by a lot of hard work and commitment that you've had all year long. So, we didn't have the best of days last week, but it wasn't a terrible day either. It could have been a lot worse. And we fought hard, and now we're off to a good start this weekend. If we can come out of here with a really solid finish, if not a win, that makes Talladega hopefully a little bit easier.
Let's go to Jenna and then Bob.
Jennifer, AP. Jeff, I don't know if struggling is the best word, but are you surprised to see the 48 struggling or not exceeding or excelling, especially here?
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen too many times these guys pull it out and do extraordinary things when they seem to be down and out, and so I'm probably the one that's gonna hold on to that, maybe even more than them at times, because I've been up against it, where we felt like we had them down, and they came back and beat us. So those guys are tough. They're a good team. I don't know exactly what's going on right now. I feel for them in some ways because I've been there. I've been there where my teammates are running really solid, and I drive it down in the corner and it just doesn't feel the way I want it to feel, or doesn't stick, or a little thing, happens here or there that causes you to lose a little time or get the position, and then all of a sudden you're behind and it catches up with you. So, but I also know that those guys are incredibly good and put up a heck of a fight, and I'm not. I won't be surprised if they still make it to the next round or a major threat for this championship.
Let's go to Bob and then Reed.
Bob Hocker, Sporting News. Beyond the obvious 100 miles difference between this race and May, how different or similar do you feel like the two races are?
Yeah, I mean, they're very similar, because except for you're starting a little bit later at night, so the conditions right away have the grip and the cool track temperature. In May, you have to start off with a track that is still a little bit warm and lacks a little bit of grip, and make sure you don't get too far behind, and then really be able to tune your car to those conditions as they cool. So that's one, and then just the difference in length, which can put you into a different pit strategy on fuel mileage, and can definitely change the outcome. I mean, it's 600 miles, such a long way around this place. So I kind of like 500, but all that matters is that we're out front when they wave the checkered flag.
Go Reed and then Viv.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Jeff, when in your rookie year, the pole speed here was 177. Today it was 197. Kurt ran a lap that's the fastest ever at a 1.5-mile track. Can you actually feel that difference, the incredible speed that you're running right now?
What's amazing to me is, we qualified here at night in May, and the pole was a 2870, and tonight, we're down there at a 17, or was it 2770? At a 16 or whatever he ran. I mean, that's just unbelievable to me. I mean, you definitely feel like when you go through 1 and 2, I think I feel the speed and the grip more in 1 and 2 than I did in 3 and 4. Of course, I had a few little issues down 3 and 4, but in 1 and 2, I mean, you just barely even out of the gas. Some guys probably weren't out of it all the way, and you're just back wide open so early in the corner. And, back in 94 and 93, I mean, that was just unimaginable to be able to go through there so fast. And I remember I always come to Charlotte, and when the sun goes down and you go to qualify and they tape up the grill, how you just had to hold your breath and really push the limits and go for it. And it seemed like back then, I was pushing just as hard, but we weren't going as fast. And now, the cars don't go faster just because they're on the edge and wrecking. They go faster because they're
times in the bigger picture before this season, was there ever any question in your mind that age was a factor in your performance, and do you feel like you've answered that question in your mind with what you've done this year?
I've never felt like age had anything to do with it. It's your body and your mind and your race team and your race car. That's what it's always come down to. I raced with competitors when I first came in the sport that were in their mid to late 40s and had, plenty of speed. So, to me, when you have all the right ingredients, I think that as long as you still have that aggressiveness in you, as long as the car is performing and the team is there, I think the experience can actually be very, very beneficial. And that's what's happened for me this year is that, certainly a little bit of added downforce hasn't hurt us at all. Our cars have been really good, and I'm able to be a little bit more aggressive. But, most of our cars are just extremely competitive, and it's built my confidence. And when I drive down the corner hard, it sticks. And, when it does that, it makes you more, confident in what you're doing, and you're more aggressive on the restarts and on qualifying laps and when you're leading and all taking, trying to make passes. And, for me, it's more just having confidence in what the car is doing more than anything. And it's so nice to have guys when you pull into victory lane and they're saying, "You're the best, man. You're the best." That's so cool to know that your team believes in what you're doing out there too, and that's that whole total team effort.
Go to Stan, Aaron, and end with Daniel.
Stan Creekmore with CompetitionPlus.com, way in the back here, Jeff. Which of the 2 practice sessions tomorrow will be the
nationwide cars with the exact same tire on the track right before that, because that's the truest race conditions that we could ask for. So we know weather's iffy right now for tomorrow and for Saturday, and so right now it's just about getting on the track and getting some solid laps. And it'll be a lot different than that qualifying. That's one lap. You put a bunch of nose weight in it. The car can turn and stick and do a bunch of things that feel really, really good for one lap. But if I continued one more lap, I'd be a half a second slower, and then a half a second slower. And then, I'd be so much slower. At the end with that car set up the way it is. Than I would if we put a race setup in it. And that's just because those are the things you do to make it go fast for one lap. So maybe not as different as they used to be back in the early 90s, but quite a bit different than what we would think that it would be.
Go Aaron and end with Daniel. Go ahead, Aaron.
Aaron Burns, National Speed Sport News. Jeff, you've had a lot of success with Alan Gustafson in the last couple of years as your crew chief. I'm just kind of wondering, could you compare how he is as a crew chief and what he's like to work with compared to Steve Letarte, who you also won a lot of races with?
Well, he's a lot different than Steve, in personality and the things that he really focuses on. He really is an engineer. Steve is really good at knowing how to utilize the engineers, and he's great with chassis and understands the cars very well. But Alan gets really into the details of the engineering side of it, from the aero platform of the car and the wind tunnel testing and computer simulation. He eats that stuff up, and he knows it as well as our engineers do. I think he's had to really learn the craft of the other things, the pit calls, and Steve's he's a great poker player, and I played poker with him, but he's great at applying that to pit stops and pit strategies as well. He's not afraid to roll the dice, and sometimes Alan, in our first couple of years, would when I would say, "Oh, the car's pushing or it's loose here," he would get a little bit caught up in trying to make sure that he made the adjustments to the car, get the car on pit road, and get the car better, and then we'll worry about pit strategy. And now, I think he's realized just how important that track position truly is, and making sure that you don't get out of those cycles. I think it's taken Al and I a couple of years to really get the chemistry, but we've had it from the beginning. I think we expected to have a little bit more success earlier on, just because of how well we get along, and his belief in me and mine in him. And it was a little frustrating, but when we weren't running good. But it's been awesome getting to know one another and challenge one another, and then come out this year and have the success that we're having. And I contribute so much of our success this year to him and his efforts and what he's built.
Final question, Daniel.
Dale McFadden, Sporting News. You, as well as many other drivers, have gotten their first career wins here at Charlotte. Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray, Bobby Labonte. Is there anything about Charlotte and similar tracks like Texas and Atlanta that lend itself to a young driver getting their first win here?
I don't know. You might ask Kyle Larson here on Saturday night. As well as he's been running, he could very easily get himself a win here. I don't know what that is. I think it's a very likable track. You know, the banking, the transitions, it certainly lends itself to being aggressive. You know, it's a driver-friendly track where you like to attack the track, but yet you can overdrive it too. So, you know, drivers that have a good feel and you know, don't mind searching around the racetrack, you know, and have that kind of knack of giving good feedback back to the team and searching the racetrack are going to be successful here. And you know, when that list of guys that you mentioned, those are all names that I look at are some of the top names in this sport. So, you know, I would see those guys winning at any type of track that's like that.
Jeff, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time. Good luck Saturday.